Shalom, party people. Welcome to the 12th Sea. Bug Out Bob Actual over on Instagram. Love your face, by the way, Bo. What has been your most successful conditioning schedule? 3 days a week with an hour a day? Has it been 75 hard, etc.? What works best for sustainment with growth and family balance? So, Mr. Bug Out Bob Actual, I can say that the family conditions that you are currently in with all the niños and all the new life and joy and everything wonderful, I'm gonna be adding that to my life even more so very soon. So I've got kids, and that's no secret, but my kids are off limits on this channel, and I know you got kids too. Also, you want to maintain your positive relationship with your helpmate, because if you and your helpmate aren't a team, then how are you guys supposed to function as a family? Like, it just, mom and dad fall apart, and then all of a sudden the rest of the family fall apart. So I get it, bro, 100%. Scheduling wise, because I know that's the core of what your question is. How do you have a sustainable exercise or conditioning or training routine and still focus on your family? For me, minimum 3 days a week, an hour a day. That's what I would consider maintenance. If you're already at a spot where your fitness is golden pony boy, for lack of a better term, then yeah, 3 days a week, an hour a day, I think is a bare minimum to maintain what you have. You have to be super on top of your diet for that, to where everything you put in your body is 100% intentional. When doing a total of 3 hours per week, let's face it, not all 3 of those hours are going to be functioning at your peak. You want to see how much you actually have, how long you can actually go before you take that first rest, or actually pushing your muscles to failure. You have got to be so intentional with all of that. And I'm not saying you can't be, because you should be intentional with your family. So if that's the route that you take, like you just have to be on point 100% of those 3 hours in that week, and then also with everything that you put in your body. Personally, I'm a 6 days a week, an hour a day guy. I find that allows me to be a little bit looser with my diet. I find that allows me to be, I'm giving 70 to 80% in the workout instead of 100%. So that way I still have something at the end of the workout. And I'm not giving my family my leftovers. I'm still fully engaged in what's going on, because if you're doing top peak intensity workouts, then you are spent for a hot minute after that workout, and it's the rest that is just as important as the actual work that you put into it. And your rest factor is going to be 2 to 3 times what your actual input factor is going to be before you can even begin to recover. So cost benefit analysis on that's kind of why I am 6 days a week, an hour a day. And if I miss one of those 6 days, it is not as detrimental than if I miss one of the 3. Because then you're not having off days that you have to keep into account, like, oh, hey, I'll try and get it in tomorrow, and then tomorrow gets away from you. It's just, every morning you're gonna wake up an hour before your family does, and you're gonna put in the sweat equity and then move on with the rest of your day. That's kind of why I have done what I've done. And I've mentioned this in other videos, but as far as 75 hard goes, 75 hard is a discipline routine, not an exercise routine. And it's not that you're not going to lose weight or gain muscle mass in 75 hard if you're doing it right. You should be. But what 4 cycles of 75 hard taught me was doing them all back to back to back broke me. So I quite literally limped across the finish line for my 4th round of 75 hard in 2023. So I think 75 hard has a purpose, but going that hard for that long, and you can make it as easy as you want to. I mean, you can literally have non-intense workouts for 75 days and it still be 75 hard, as long as you're pushing yourself in an area. And that can be in a myriad of things. But you have your typical 20 and 30 somethings who are doing 75 hard. They should be going hard. I mean, that's kind of the point. It's not 75 easy. So I think 75 hard has got its own separate purpose and caveat. And I would stress that I find 6 days a week for an hour a day instead of 7 days a week for 2 45-minute sections, where that's just really difficult to manage. Some things that I would say key takeaways, and I would say you pretty well understand this because I have seen some of your videos before you made them all private. Working out with your kids, involving your kids in your fitness, I think checks a lot of boxes all at once. Number one, you're spending quality time with your kids. Like, that's a no-brainer. Number two, you're getting solid fitness out of it. If you are tossing your kids in the air, doing squats, wrestling with them, playing, if you can train your kids to sit on your back while you do push-ups, they get so much joy out of it because they treat it like a horsey ride, and you get additional strength training out of it because it's more than just your body weight. Throw in a weighted vest while you're doing it, boom. But you're also teaching your kids that taking care of their body is important. And if we believe that our body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, then shouldn't we maintain it? Now, that shouldn't be all encompassing. I mean, there's plenty of writing that talks about how physical conditioning is only of some use. It's not the number one thing. But if we're not taking care of our body, then what does that say about what we think about the temple of the Holy Spirit? So I will pose that, saying that it's not the most important thing ever, but it is important, at least of some importance. Maintaining your kids in your fitness, whether that is throwing your kids in the stroller and taking them for, a training run where you're incorporating some calisthenics in that. I tell you, you want to get smoked fast, double stroller with 2 kids uphill with a weight vest. When you can't breathe anymore, drop and do push-ups. You will find out really fast how lacking your fitness abilities are, because I'm speaking from experience. It sucks. It is humbling, and you will hurt in places that you never knew you had muscles in. So 100% on that. Pro tip, and I've brought this in before, but give your kids a pinwheel while they are being pushed in that double stroller and they scream, "Go daddy, go." Talk about motivation right there, because number one, you want to keep that pinwheel spinning. Number two, you want to keep that sense of joy on your kid's face. And number three, you have your kids cheering you on. So it's fantastic. You add in using your kids as your weights in such ways that they get joy out of it and they don't feel, any pain or anything. You're not dropping them on the floor or, anything crazy like that, but you're tossing them in the air safely, doing squats, where you're bench pressing your kids, curling your kids, those kinds of things. Plus, as they get heavier, you get stronger. So it's a win-win. I've seen videos where people are hooking their kids to like sleds and dragging them. That's cool. I really haven't gotten into that. I'm just rocking the double stroller. But there's a million ways to incorporate your kids in what you do. The other thing is that traditional fitness doesn't have to be your only go-to. As your kids get bigger, running and playing with them should be natural. Being able to introduce your kids to soccer or ultimate frisbee or American sports ball or rugby or basketball or whatever that. Staying active, I think, is substantially more important than, okay, I always have to hit the weight room. Like, I think weights are of some importance. It isn't an aspect of our fitness, but there are so many things that are out there that you don't just have to bench press and run to be able to actually be fit. You should be pushing yourself on some level, and your kids should be seeing that. But being able to incorporate them, I think, is a really wonderful thing. You want to talk about being able to give your wife a break? Toss your kids in the stroller and go for a run. Your kids get a little bit older, take them for a hike. Then you're incorporating some of those other prepper aspects of, hey, we're going to do the bug out bag thing. I mean, a 3-year-old should be able to walk a couple of miles. You may be a little bit slower, but sometimes you got to slow down to speed up. You should be training your kiddos to be able to ride on your shoulders. You want to talk about weighted walks. You want to talk about being able to ruck. Throw a 30 to 40 pound child on your shoulders and go for a walk, because not only are you now carrying additional weight, but their movements are different than, weight that, for lack of a better word, would be dead weight. A 3 or a 4-year-old shifting weight on your shoulders, grabbing your ears, making you uncomfortable, being able to move under those conditions is very humbling. As it gets a little bit cooler, when summer goes away and all that, baby carrier, bro, they still work on toddlers. You want to talk about weighted vest training? There's that. You can spin that around, and then now you have a secure child for doing push-ups for a few minutes. I wouldn't do that to a kid for 45 minutes, so that way they're soaked when you are. But, 2 sets with a 20-pound baby on your back, very doable. Plus, trust me, your kids think it's a horsey ride. It's amazing. I think there's a million ways to incorporate your family in your fitness. Dude, just going for a family walk, that is much better than sitting around on the couch, which I know your family's not doing because you've got, livestock and a million other projects. But there is so much joy in incorporating your kids in what you're doing. As your helpmate recovers from bringing new life into the world, being able to encourage them to go for walks and getting that mommy and daddy time that is not in a sexual way, but just you guys continuing to reconnect. I doubt your wife is going to let you throw her in your rucksack and go on rucks together, so that way you can train and y'all can have quality time together. I'm sure some people do it, but I just don't think that is going to be long-term sustainable for most people. But what I do recommend is being able to work on your own levels together at the same time, going for walks together at minimum. As mama recovers, she's going to be able to lift weights. Why don't you guys lift and play with your kids together at the same time in the appropriate times for her body healing? Fun for the whole family. In short, whatever you can do to increase your time together as a family, that's the goal. And if that's waking up an hour early, so that way you can do the things as hard as you can and then still be able to play with your kids later, awesome. If that's incorporating your kids the whole time, awesome. I find the 6 days a week, an hour a day works for me. It may not work for you. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. Weigh in what your inputs have to be to get your desired outputs, and start with those desired outputs as the end goal. If you want to meticulously watch every calorie that goes into your mouth, if you want to meticulously strategize your rest periods to fuel your work periods, then maybe that 3 days a week, an hour a day is right for you. It is right for several people. I have not found the best results with me personally, but everybody's different. If the 6 days a week, an hour a day, especially half of that time incorporating your kids, do that. Find what works. There's a reason I tell everybody to go do hard things. Trial and error tends to be a really, really good teacher for us. Go do hard things.